Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, out on another exploration, and I'm looking at my quest for England and Englishness. And what could be more English and have Englishness about it than standing in a beautiful old church? I'm in Amberley in West Sussex, and I'm joined today, I have to say with great pleasure, by Gerry Burgess. Hello, Gerry.
Hello there.
You are the priest in charge. I love that. That sounds great. So this is your church. You look after a number of other churches.
Yes, I have 4 churches across the Wild Brooks. So this is my largest church here in Amberley.
And it's interesting. Sorry to interrupt. It's interesting to say you said the Wild Brooks because we on the church here, built on the highest point, as churches tend to be in villages, looks down on the Wild Brooks here.
Yes, and we can see at the moment that it's a good thing we're built on high land because the Wild Brooks do flood in the winter, as they have this year.
Yes, I think people know about they know enough about flooding, don't they? This is St. Michael's.
Yep, dedicated to St. Michael. Often churches are St. Michael and all angels, but we are just St. Michael. We have no angels.
No angels.
Not normally.
Ah, bless. Now, it's the church is right next door to people may have heard of or seen pictures or even been married in Amberley Castle, which is there. And a lot of people make the mistake that think it's a fortified castle that may have come about as the Norman invasion, but that's not the case, is it?
No, the castle dates from the early 12th century and it was built as a residence for the bishops of Chichester.
So including St. Richard?
Including Bishop Richard, yes,
Bishop
later.
Richard, yes.
Saint Richard
Yes.
of Chichester, yes.
Oh, fantastic. And so that's right next to this church, which is a wonderful church built of stone and flint.
Yep, very, very strong Norman influences in it, in the very stonework of it. A lot of it is Norman stone.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
very, very solid. So when was it built?
So the church was built at about the same time as the castle in the early 12th century and very much linked together from the start with a doorway through from the castle to the church. Very convenient for the bishops.
Absolutely. Now, it's a stunning church as you come in. We've got some interesting features here. The first feature I noticed when I was walking around on the outside is this rather magnificent but walled up now north door, which then if you take a 20-foot walk from there, you have a vertical drop straight down onto the road that passes by. So I always think north doors are interesting because they're always walled up mostly, unless it's nearer the manor house or something like that. But presumably the north door and the south door, which is the entrance we came through, is used for processions and things back in the pre-Reformation days.
Yeah, presumably it would have been. These days we use the south door and are now able also to use the west door to come in from the direction of the castle through the tower. But the north door has been blocked up for a very long time now.
Yeah. I know, it is magnificent. You've got a lovely little window in there, stained glass.
Yes, a wonderful 20th century window, just about 100 years old, memorial to Edward Stott, an artist who lived here. But so beautiful, although it's a very recent addition really, in the history of the church.
Yes. The church, the churchyard is quite extensive, isn't it? It's quite a big churchyard.
It's a very extensive churchyard, quite a challenge to look after.
I bet.
Very interesting, all sorts of memorials to wander around.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's quite passionate to myself, and I know quite a few of our followers, is the yew trees that you find in churchyards. And you have one specific one which does look pretty old.
Yes, we're not sure exactly. It's well over 300 years old.
Yes, magnificent. And it's right in front of the south door, which is lovely as you come in. Behind us, however, there is the thing that you notice, I think, as soon as you come through the door, which really sets the church off against so many others, is the chancel arch.
Yes, this splendid chancel arch, which obviously is original to the church. All of the nave area would be early 12th century, and we have this wonderful Norman arch with the characteristic zigzag patterning, as have some of the other churches around here. Stenning is another one, which is very similar and was probably done by the same craftsman.
And that's an interesting feature, isn't it? We forget that these masons were travelling around, because once they've done one job, they need another job. And who was employing them more than anybody else? Churches. So you can almost, I guess, follow where they would have gone based on the type of stuff they did. There's some magnificent wall paintings. Shall we go and have a look at and find out a little bit about that? These, Gerry, look rather magnificent, and I know that there's a bit of a story to them as such, or an interpretation, I suppose I should say.
Yeah. Yes, wonderful wall paintings from about 1300, we think, which were only revealed back in the 1960s, and they have the story of Christ, obviously his crucifixion, the events leading to that as he approaches the cross, carrying his cross up to the hill, and at the top then we have Christ in majesty, resurrected and seated in heaven.
And there's a reason that this panel here is why you think it's here, the scene of the crucifixion.
Yeah, we are fairly sure that there would have been a small side altar here,
right,
which is why the crucifix is immediately above it,
right,
very appropriately.
And these paintings, were they fairly recently revealed, or have they been here since the church was built?
For many, many centuries, they would have been covered up since the Reformation, presumably, right, in plaster. And these were only revealed in the 1960s.
Oh, right.
As were a few others around the church. We know there are many more that are still hidden.
Hidden. And that's the thing that often people forget when they visit the church. It can be all very, what's the word, not sombre, but very conservative, I suppose, with a small c. And yet, in their day, pre-Reformation, would have been quite garish and colourful and telling in a vibrant way the stories.
Oh, absolutely, because these would have told stories to people who didn't understand the words of the service, which were in Latin.
Yes.
But they could look and learn from the pictures.
Absolutely, yeah. And so you've got other little ones that have been revealed. You've got some crosses, I can see, little circular crosses.
Yes, the crosses around on the other walls of the church are consecration crosses from when it was built.
Oh, right.
So
wow,
those are the oldest, and there are a few other more recent little wall paintings round and about.
This is a very large and extended chancel, Gerry, isn't it?
Yes, it seems rather unusually so for a church in a small village.
Absolutely.
But I think the key is probably the connection with the bishops.
Ah, yes, of course. So you've got the bishops basically behind us here, right down, and you can see you've got the chancel arch here, you've got the window into the bell tower, where I can just see the sally ropes.
Yes.
Or the sallies on the ropes. Do you still ring bells here?
Yes, we have 5 bells here and are very pleased to ring them as often as we can. Yes.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. So you've got bell ringers in the village.
We have some ringers in the village and others come from around to help us out as well.
Yes. We're quite lucky because we do have a number of young bell ringers who actually follow when I'm going to churches, and they often come back and say, "Oh, I know that church. I've rung in that church," which is lovely, and it's encouraging people to take up that wonderful craft. So the link with the bishops is interesting to me because it is this beautiful rural village with these thatched roof cottages and houses, which now are very sought after, I imagine.
Yes.
But back in the 12th century, I would just wonder why the bishops would have built their castle or their big house here. Is it on a major route, do you think?
Well, there are certainly Roman routes very nearby.
Right.
So I think people have been passing by here for a very long time.
Yes. And the Arun is not too far away.
The Arun just down below, and yet built up a bit here where the castle and the church are very visible.
Yes. So they may have used navigation on the River Arun itself, and perhaps a crossing at where did you say?
Houghton Bridge.
At Houghton
And
Bridge.
just below Houghton Bridge there would have been a Roman ford, we think. So
yes.
That's been a crossing place of the Arun for many, many centuries.
And if you go on the top of the downs there and you look down, it's certainly very picturesque as you look down into Amberley, and I guess the Bishop's Palace would have been seen.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
It's marvellous. Now, there's another astonishing fact which I really am impressed by. The church here has its own Wi-Fi.
Yes, we installed Wi-Fi last year. This was in consequence of a major project that we had to do on the tower itself, which needed a lot of conservation work. And we were supported by the Heritage Lottery Fund for that.
Oh, fantastic.
And so we've been able to install Wi-Fi and link that to an audio guide to the church.
So you can wander around the church
Yes.
and listen to a guide telling you all about it. That is amazing. That's wonderful.
Yes, if you go to the Amberley St Michael website, you find the audio guide and you can go around and it tells you in great detail about all the features, not only inside the church, but also from the outside as well.
Well, there you go. So I would definitely encourage people to come along and try that out. That would be interesting. Leave a comment if you've done that. It would be lovely to know how you found it.
Yes.
And obviously in a video like mine, we can only scratch on the surface. There's lots of interesting things. I know there's a little character carved up on one of the capitals on just under the arch there.
He's a beakhead. I think
Oh, is
the
it a
term for it,
beakhead?
a beakhead.
Oh, there we go.
Little face keeping a watch on the priest and what they're up to.
Fantastic. So there you go. You've got to come and you've got to look at it. Gerry, thank you so much for showing me around the church.
It's a pleasure.
It's absolutely brilliant. And the village, of course, if you come to Amberley, no doubt people will wander around the village. And Amberley Brooks as well. So much to see. Thanks so much. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, and give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video and all of those things. But do leave a comment. It's always interesting to know if you've been or you've got any extra information, as I know people do. Till the next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.